Right. So we're talking about something again, which I know nothing about. We were just talking about this before we started, which is cool. So when I think of value proposition, my mind, maybe because I'm sort of like I've got more of a natural proclivity to marketing, but my mind just thinks, what is the value? I think of a value proposition for a customer. I've never really thought about it for an employee. So this is going to be quite interesting. So just explain to me, like, what is an EVP for a employee? Is it even slightly the same as a customer's?
I mean, I know very little about the customer value proposition, so I don't know. However, it's a lot of words for something that's really quite simple. So EVP stands for employee, as you said, employee value proposition. And we call it a people promise because actually that is what it says on the tin. It's the promise that you're making to your people about what it will be like to work here. And it often gets really confused with benefits. And benefits, of course, are part of your, the promise that you make to your people and the value proposition. But actually, it's so much more than that. And it's within a company's gift, if you like, to be able to sit down and decide what that looks like. And in my consultancy role, we've worked with clients to help them define what their employee value proposition is. And I think because it is linked fairly closely to marketing, and like you, a lot of people think, oh, this must be something that sits within, sort of the marketing department, or something that we should be looking at to make our brand look shiny and attractive to people coming into the marketplace. What a lot of people do is put out there an EVP or a people promise or, an image of something very shiny and lovely that then doesn't actually happen when said people then join. And I think, some of the best campaigns or better recruitment campaigns are done by very, very skilled marketers. However, taking into account what the business wants to offer rather than what it actually does. And I think one of the reasons that we have such a high turnover within the first 100 days is because the promise of what it can be like, because we're also keen to, we do oversell our businesses sometimes. That's why there's such a high turnover within that first 3 months, because it's not genuine, authentic, but most of all realistic. So when we work with clients to do it, and one that I talk about quite a lot, and I'm going to refer to notes because I'm not going to remember them all otherwise. We worked with Elior, which is a big food service organisation, and they've got thousands of people, and we surveyed them all, and we also spoke to them. We held a lot of focus groups to understand why they worked for Elior in the first place and what was good about working for that particular company. Because what Elior wanted to do was, rather than go out and sort of be like, we are the best in our, in our comp set to work for, we are the world's best food service business or whatever it is, they really wanted to understand what the really good people at Elior understood by what it's like to work here. And, their people promise is really simple, and they say as much on their website, actually. And it's, they want to, as a colleague, they want you to feel as valued as they make their customers feel. So from the word go, if you hear that about a company, you're like, okay, well, these organizations obviously care about their customers. They wouldn't be here if they didn't. So to understand that they care about as much about me as an employee is like, really important. And then they have 8 bullet points, which are just all about what it's like to be here. And they have benefits and all the other things you would expect over and above, but it is offering roles to support your way of life. So that's telling people that this is an organisation where we will support you if you want to work flexibly, if you want to work part-time, if you want to work 9 to 5, or if you want to work 5 till 12, they'll look to make roles that will support your lifestyle, because that's the demographic of people that they need within their business. They employ people that care. They want to understand that people care about them and their business, and about each other as well. They will trust you to deliver. They'll thank you for a job well done. They'll let you know what you need to know. And communication is really important in a lot of organisations. That's the thing that falls down. So they're putting out there that they're going to communicate with you. They'll listen to you, which, most people do want to know that they've got a voice within an organisation. They'll provide opportunities for growth and progression, and they'll support you through life's ups and downs. So if you are in a position where you have to take time off work because your sink is leaking, Liam, as it is for you this morning, that's okay. And they're going to support that. So by putting that out to the world, they're saying, if you come and work here, we will offer these things. So I call it, I'm sure it's not me that calls it this, it has been called, but it's almost like that psychological contract you have with somebody that is, if you come here and you share with us all your brilliant skills and experience and be a great employee, then this is what we'll give back to you. So yeah, again, I've gone on. You asked me one question and I go off on a tangent, but that's basically what it is. So it's the promise that you make to people about how you're going to act, care and support them as a business.
Mm. So it's interesting because this is often the smallest section on a job ad, isn't it? So a company puts a job ad out and the vast majority of them are just basically, this is what we want from you as a person. So we're trying to fill this gap in our organisation. You need to have these skills, you need to have these personal characteristics or whatever it might be. And then I think, like you said, like you kind of alluded to at the start, the EVP bit is just like the benefits. So you'll get a couple of extra days holiday, you'll get a gym membership or whatever, but it's not given the care and attention, is it, that the other bit is given?
No, not at all. And it's that sort of, I suppose, buzzword at the moment is that psychological safety. It's knowing that if I come and work here, for example, if I want to progress, I'll have the ability to progress. If I want to give back. So, some famous examples, Salesforce, for example, is very much committed to sort of what's going on socially, what's going on in the world. And they donate 1% of their equity, 1% of their profits, and 1% of their employees' time to charitable causes. That is something that is very specific to them as an organisation that they've identified as important to their people. And that's all about giving back. Google, do you remember when Google first put slides in their offices? And it goes way, way further to that. But Google is a great place to work. And again, you can be cynical about it, but they have nap pods on site. They have fitness centres. They have laundry services. They have really good parental leave. But also, more than the physical environment and the things that they'll offer, they get to work on really sort of high impact and innovative projects. They offer really good opportunities for professional growth. So when you put it all together, you think, yeah, that's a business that cares about me. That's a business that really appreciates what I'm doing. And the simple thank you is one of the biggest things that you can do for people is saying, thanks for a job well done. And that often gets missed. But if it becomes part of, this is what we do here, we recognise people that are doing a really good job, people are much more likely to engage with that and want to stay. And that's what it's all about, right? Is having people in your business that are going in the same direction as you, that really believe in what you're doing. And it's just all these little touch points that make that happen.
So I guess, depending on the business and the industry, the people who are going to be working for you, the EVP should be different and tailored, right? Because like just put on a slide randomly in any business just because Google done it is not the way to do it.
Please don't do it. No, you've got to do what's right for your business and what's right, and again, we go back to, we've talked a lot about the sort of the individualisation of the employee experience and how everybody, you need to look at what everybody in your business needs from you as an individual. And that's hard to put on a website, but to say to them, every quarter you'll have the opportunity to sit down with your manager and discuss your career, which is clearly what Korero does. That's a really important part of your employee value proposition. It's letting people know from the outset you're interested about their career, you want to help them move on if they want to, maybe they don't, but also you want to understand, about their well-being, you want to understand about their personal circumstances, you want to know what they want to do to develop if they can. And what can work for you. Patagonia is an outdoors clothing brand, and they've got one of the strongest reputations in the marketplace. And they provide childcare and allow people to work completely flexibly, because they understand that people that have families, might be some of the most talented people out there, but that works for them as an organization. And they're also committed to helping the environment. Everybody that goes to work there would be expected to be committed to the environment and sustainability and be living their life in that way, as well as working for this particular business. So that business will only appeal to certain people because they're so clear on what their promise is that they'll only attract that type of person. And that's what you want. When you go out to market with a proposition and say, come and work for us, you want to make it very, very clear what you're about as an organisation and what you can offer as an organisation. It's a bit like dating. Not everybody is right for everybody, but that doesn't mean that I would hate to work for Google. I can't think of anything worse. Yet I recognise that it's a very attractive, amazing, phenomenal place to work. It wouldn't suit me, so I would never go for a job there. Whereas if I was applying for a job and it was just blanket telling me what skills I need, I could look at it and I could go, yeah, I've got all those skills, I'm going to go for that job. But I might not get through any kind of process because they would recognise straight away, and I would recognise straight away, that this actually isn't the organisation for me. So the more transparent and open and honest about what it is to work here, the less retention you're going to end up with them in the long term. It totally makes sense. It baffles me that people aren't shouting more about what it is like to work here. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be making it that one person's boring is another person's exciting, right? I remember somebody telling me that really early on in my career when we were recruiting more people, Jane actually. And I was like, oh, but no one's, she was like, what do you want to lose out of your role to get somebody else into the business? And so I told her all the stuff that was boring to me. I was like, no one's going to come and do that job because it is like the most boring, mind-numbing, like, no way, that's a terrible job. And along came Emily, who still works with us, 15, 20 years later. He was like, this is the best thing ever. All I want to do is organise people's diaries and chase people up and manipulate up to, and it just goes to show that how you set yourself out as an organisation has such a massive impact on the people that are going to come into it. It's crazy not to, in some respects. Yeah, so even when it's where I was going with that, I think it was, I'm going to say Five Guys, and it was years ago now. And people had just started putting videos on their websites about, what it's like to work here. And I remember judging awards and I watched their video and it gave me shivers because it wasn't like, come and work here, we make the best burgers in the world, it's going to be amazing, and you can have shakes or whatever it is. It was a really challenging video, and it was showing people like wiping down surfaces, and it was almost like, can you handle it? Are you obsessed by cleanliness? Are you tough enough to stand on your feet for 8 hours at a time? Can you be part of a team that expects, a lot from you? And by the end of it, I was like, yeah, I could do that. I want to work there. And that's the kind of emotional response that you want from people when they go onto your website or they hear about you in the marketplace. You want someone to go, oh my God, that sounds just like me. Not that sounds amazing. That sounds just like somewhere that I would want to be. That's where I will fit in. I will find my place in this organisation. And you have to make it wide enough to attract a diverse group of people, but you also have to do stuff that's very specific to you.
Yeah, and setting expectations, I guess, as well, because otherwise people aren't going to last long, are they? So thinking specifically about like managing somebody's career then, and obviously let's imagine somebody's using Korero, and we've covered Korero quite a bit so far. So hopefully the listener will kind of understand what Korero does and how it's a platform to have really good career conversations. If somebody's already using that, how could they get that across in a job like spec that they put out to the world? How could they sort of like display, we care so much about your career, we're invested in this platform to do so?
Yeah, it's about saying, if you come here, we will sit down, we will give you the opportunity to sit down and talk about yourself, talk about your performance every quarter, whatever it is. It's just about putting it out there and saying, this is what we will do for you. Yeah, so it's very much about reflecting what that is. So if in your, it goes further, if in your EVP or people promise you're saying we really care about our people's well-being, then clearly ask questions around people's well-being when you're having those types of career conversations with them, because it just embeds everything that you've said. And then you start to unearth people, how is your financial health? How is your physical and mental health? Conversations that you might not have with people and that you wouldn't necessarily have to have with people if you were, but if you're a business that says we genuinely care about your well-being, if you come and work here, then follow it up by incorporating that kind of thing into that career conversation.
So what I'm thinking, what type of things could people put? Because I don't think it's necessarily intuitive for employers to put this type of stuff in their job ads. So I'm just trying to get into the mind of, I guess, if you were writing a job ad on behalf of like an employer like the Ned or somebody who uses Korero, like what type of things should they be putting in the job ad? Like, should it just be a paragraph about, for example, how like Korero, like should they go into detail about what Korero does? And should they mention Korero? Would it be quite useful? Or examples of like other people who've had good career progressions, like employee case studies, that type of thing?
No, I wouldn't do that no, I wouldn't. It's very broad. It's about, people only take in so much information at any one time. So if I was on the website and I was looking in the careers section, I'd expect somewhere to say something like, if you come and work here, this is our promise to you. Or if you come and work here, this is what we commit to. And I mean, I'll always bullet point because I find it easy, but you can do it in a number of different ways. And the way what to put on there, I would suggest is asking your people. Go and say, what is the best thing about working here? There will be something, because it has to be genuine. You can't say to people, we offer you, the opportunity to have a conversation about your careers, or we offer flexible working, if actually you clearly don't, obviously. But it's very easy to sort of say, well, we offer that or we want to do that. But if it's not people's favourite thing and if it's not embedded in your organisation, then, don't say that it is. It's like, don't say that we offer comprehensive career development if what you're doing is sheep dipping words, and what you're doing is sheep dipping people in, compliance training twice a year. You're not offering people a comprehensive development plan, then are you, or an individualized one? And, the types of people, though you want to encourage diversity, what you want to, it's about, what is good here? What do your people on the ground think is good? So that's what I'd want to know. I'd go and get the Ned's last employee survey and look, what are the top 3 scoring questions? Is it that we've got, inspirational leaders in the business? That becomes then, I always put on our job adverts, we'll teach you everything we know. And that's because one of our values is credible. And that's because we've got a breadth of experience in the organisation wherever you come into it, that, if we know it, we'll teach it to you. And that can be quite important. If somebody wants to come and work in Korero, we're such a small business, you have to be part of such a small team. We want to share everything with you. Not all organisations have that privilege. So for me, that's something that's different about us, and we will take the time to do that. It's like, you want to learn about how P&L works, we'll show how P&L works. Might not be your job, but we'll show you. You want to understand the back end of, what Korero looks like? We'll show you that. That's fine. You want to take on marketing? Knock yourself out. We'll tell you what we know, and then we'll send you somewhere to find out more if that's what you want to do. So it has to be really well thought through, but it has to be authentic. I think the authenticity piece is key. So you really have to examine what is good in your organisation. And it might be that, from a leadership perspective, you think your culture is one thing, and you think that what you're offering people is really, is really good and really important. But have you asked them? We offer a wide range of benefits. Like, what does that mean? What do you offer? What's the thing that's making people get out of bed in the morning beyond the salary? Because
So how does Korero make it easy for me as an employer to learn all that? Just really like clarify that for me.
I think to do that, that's something that we would do. So, I mean, we have a survey tool, which is separate from the Korero products that we're talking about a lot, but we would use our survey tool. So we would ask people what's important to them about coming to work, what the best things are, or we'd just look at a previous survey and stuff. I suppose this is less about Korero. This is about setting up a culture where Korero could work within that culture, if that makes sense. So this is really about, genuinely wanting to be a good place to work. Korero is just one of the things that will enable that to happen and could form one part of your people promise, and probably quite an important one, given that we know that generations coming into the workforce now, as we talked about on the last episode, want to understand how they're getting on. They want feedback. They want to talk about their performance and their progression, and share stuff and have a voice. So even stuff like, we conduct a survey, or we have groups where people get to have their say. That's all super important in terms of people looking at that and understanding they have a voice in the business. So I suppose the website, coming back to your question, is about what do we do, not necessarily how we do it. I don't think you have to say we have Korero. I think you say we will listen to you at, your direct manager will sit down with you at least once a quarter, or, we will give you a voice. How you give them that voice, they don't need to know that that's a twice annual survey and that they might be involved in focus groups. It's just knowing that you will get a voice. That's the kind of thing that a good candidate might ask on interview. You'd look at those things and say, well, how do you do that then? That would be my challenge to anyone saying they're going to work for an organisation. I would say, well, go and look at what they're offering you, and then, understand what that looks like. Because you're interviewing, as a candidate, you're interviewing the business as much as they're interviewing you. It's not a one-way street. It's not somebody deciding whether you're good enough to work in this business. It's about two people deciding that this will be a good fit. That's what's important. So, if you're putting out some gorgeous, shiny representation of the industry or of the business, and you're not following through with it, that person will leave. And everything else.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fantastic way to think about it. It's about sort of the what rather than the how, because I guess you can give too much information over at once, really, and that makes total sense. It's definitely, I can definitely sort of marry this up, and it helps me think about it, thinking about what it's like when you take on a new customer, because we don't hire all that often, and we're a small team, so we take on customers. Obviously, we think we're getting better at that, and it's kind of, all the marketing messages and everything that you put out, it's all about kind of showing people the best parts, but in a way which is truly reflective, so that you're managing expectations. And you read about people on companies on LinkedIn all the time who like never have screenshots on their website, for example. So you read the homepage and you think, oh, this is amazing, this is exactly for me. Then you get into the product and it's absolutely terrible. It's like not what you expected at all. And it's just the same process, I guess. It's saying to an employee, these are the great things that we do, but only say them if they're actually things you can follow through on.
Yeah, absolutely. And there will be stuff, it might not be the big shiny things that people expect from Google, right? But on the flip side, there are people that want to work for teeny tiny micro businesses. There are people that, a job in hospitality is more than they could ever dreamed of, because they might have had all kinds of things going on with their lives and you just don't know. So, I think making assumptions with this kind of stuff is really dangerous. And it's, understand from the people that know your business the best, and that's your people, the people that are on the front line. I remember somebody spending ages working out a cycle to work thing, because it was just what everybody was doing when the Boris Bites first came in London. I think one person took them up on it, and that's the benefit. But it's like, had anybody ever asked whether that was something that people wanted to do, or considered the demographic of the people in business and actually finishing really late at night, who wants to ride their bike home at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever it might be? So I think, the authenticity piece is just, like, just be who you are, because somebody out there, the right people, will relate to it. And anything special you're doing and everything that's over and above, it surprises me. Matt from, I'm sure I said this before, Matt from Uda always says, and now I always do, is that how many businesses know more about their customer than they know about their people. And it's so true. And, it's only by asking people that we're going to understand what is really good and what we can go out there and say is about that. It might be that you have a real, if you're a single site and you have a group of people that genuinely really care about each other and do act like family or are like best mates, put that out there. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's true, because it will appeal to somebody.
And the other thing I was thinking, and probably the last thing for me as well, is that some of the best brands that I've seen who I know do very, very well, like some of our best customers who I know do very, very well, if you check out their social media, they'll actually post a lot of things which display their EVP, even in between hiring. So like even when they're not hiring, so they'll just post, team photos which gives you like an insight into what it's like to work there, or somebody using one of the benefits, or this, that, and the other. And I just think it's so clever because, if you're in hospitality, you're basically a recruitment company as well.
100%.
And so I don't think it's like it's almost like setting up this factory to recruit a couple of people and then shutting it down again for a couple of months. And then you got to go start it all back up again. And I just think,
no.
If you just kind of keep it going, even if it's just at a low level, keep even if you know you're not going to hire for a quarter even, which is probably unlikely, but just keep the odd little post going every now and then, so it's in people's minds you're a good place to work. I think that's so clever.
It's also reminding the people that are still in the business, because it's easy to get disillusioned sometimes. And actually, the EVP, your people promise, it's, I'd argue it's just as important for people in your business that you're fulfilling that, you're demonstrating it, you're living it on a day-to-day basis, than it is for when you're hiring people. Because, the best, I think we talked about this last time, I think it was, or I judged an awards recently, I think it's De Vere hotels have got a ridiculously high amount, I can't remember the percentage and I don't want to do them a disservice, but have got a ridiculously high percentage of people that are in the business because they've been recommended by a friend or family. And, so if you're living your people promise, your EVP, day in, day out, then you're going to get employee advocacy, that's what you're looking for. That's what we're all looking for, right? Is advocacy. It's people saying, go to this place, use this product, work at this organisation. So your recruitment will be done for you to some extent if you are genuinely a great place to work and people can articulate that. Oh my God, you should come and work here because they really care about you, and I'm allowed to do X, Y, Z, and I get to make my own decisions about stuff, and they're just a bit different from everybody else because that's that's the gold. That's what you're looking for. So yeah, wouldn't it be great if we never had to go and recruit, because everybody just knew what a great place we were to work and people just wanted to come and work for us. And back in the day, when I think it was in 2014, Firmdale won Best Employer, and they're a boutique hotel business in London, and they were getting like 100 applications a week. I think the Evening Standard covered it as they were best place to work in hospitality, and they were getting more CVs than they could cope with, and they had no turnover. Anna, I'm not sure what her job title was, but she was running the business. She was trying to get her niece work experience and couldn't even get her in. So a lot of that is down to Julia Baxter, who was there at the time. Their whole value proposition was about love what you do, and it lived and breathed within that business. They were amazing, and they didn't have to think about recruitment because they were just living their people promise every day, day in, day out.
Yes. Well, let's hope the listener can try and model themselves on that. Wouldn't that be amazing? So, Joe, listen, thank you so much. Amazing insights as always. A quick note to the listener that Joe's details will be in the show notes. So if you've got any more questions about EVP or anything else that we spoke about, reach out to Joe. Joe, lovely to see you, and I'll see you next time.
Soon. Bye.
Bye.